Hi, Cooper. You missed your scheduled one-on-one conference with me today. I know that the email, I think, went to your dad's email. So I'm not really sure whether you got that or not. But I wanted to go over some ideas with you on your rough draft and give you some audio-visual comments. I'm also going to be saving what I have here on the screen for you and I'm going to send both of these through a message so that you'll see them both, not just the YouTube video, but also what I've got here as far as a Word document as well. What I would suggest and hope that once you make revisions that you reach out to me again and we find a time to meet, even if it's for just 15 minutes to see if you're on the right track, okay? And the information that I'm going to give you right now is going to focus more on just some ideas based on some conferencing that I've done with other people so far. What's happening a lot is a lot of people are getting some really good information regard to the coronavirus and pandemics. But we want you to go a little bit further. So you have some good information, but we want to think about all of this within this idea right here that I'm stressing right over here, that your essay needs to make a point in relation to freedom of expression and or access to information. So I'm going to give an example. In the assignment sheet for this essay, there were four ideas or bullet points for prompts that you could use if you were maybe not quite sure which route to go. So I'm going to highlight one that I think maybe based on the information that you were sharing, you might take this idea and go with it, or you could pick a different one. So again, this is just an example. So we're going to focus on this one in yellow right here. Why does it matter that there's false and or misleading information about the coronavirus? Why does that matter? And what should individuals do to protect themselves about misinformation? So your thesis statement needs to answer that question. Right now, the only thing that you're talking about is that the nation needs to come together. And so in looking at that thesis statement, it's not really saying a whole lot in regard to access to information or misinformation. So that's where your focus needs to be. Remember, this is not an informational report. It is an essay where you are making a point based on your research in regard to freedom of expression and access to information. So this is an idea or an example of an outline that you could possibly do something along these lines that get back at these two things. Why does it matter? And what should individuals do to protect themselves from misinformation? So you already have background information about the coronavirus. Why not use that? You could create one background paragraph, condense what you have already, and create one background paragraph that just tells the reader about what's happening right now, right? For posterity's sake, maybe somebody reads this in 10 years who can't remember going through this very well because they were younger. So how could you explain what's happening in one paragraph just about the virus, okay? And then what you want to do is then focus on how in the virus that you just talked about, how we have misleading information abounding, right, all over the place. And so one of the things that you could do for body paragraph number 1 in your point is you want to try to make a point about fake news. What's your point you want to make? What is it? Where is it? How widespread is it? Is fake news everywhere? What is it? What does that mean? You could search, your search terms could be coronavirus plus fake news. It could also be coronavirus plus fake news plus social media, or coronavirus plus social media. So those are some options that you can do in a search at the library e-resources. Your second body paragraph could focus on the effects of fake news. What are the effects of fake news on particular countries who have deliberately misled the world about what was happening? What are the effects of that? Think about China as an example. What are some other countries that maybe that has happened? Again, if you put in that search that I indicated above right here, you're going to find that. If you say coronavirus plus China plus fake news, you're going to find information. Your next bullet point could be the effect of fake news on individuals. What type of how have people reacted to the coronavirus based on misinformation that's been given? Think about hoarding and the need for everybody to go out and get toilet paper for whatever reason, right? I went to the store the other day, could not find yeast to save my life to make cinnamon rolls, right? I mean, there's certain things that you just can't find anymore. So what about this hoarding situation? Where did that come from? Why are we doing that? Why does this spread of misinformation lead to these situations like hoarding? So you could type in coronavirus plus hoarding, or coronavirus plus fake news plus hoarding, and see what you get. Here's an example of that couple in Tucson who heard on the news about, I think it's chloroquine, that might help prevent COVID-19. It's just something that's maybe was talked about, which could actually help, but that doesn't mean that chloroquine in any shape or form will be good for you. And a Tucson couple found that they had that phosphate in their what they had to clean their fish tanks, and they ingested it, and the man died, and the wife is in intensive care. Example, it's another example of this information going out there that leads to these widespread panics, right? And then finally, your last bullet point could be, how do you spot fake news? How can we as consumers of everything that's out there learn to spot this? How can we get good at this, right? And then that comes back to what we're looking for here in yellow. Why does it matter that it's out there? Because we know it's dangerous. It's endangering people in lots of different ways, right? And what could we do to protect ourselves? So these are the answers that you're giving in these body paragraphs here. And then finally, for the conclusion, I want you to go beyond just summarizing what you've said before, but think about it on a personal level. We are all going through something that none of us have ever experienced in our life. So how does this information about misinformation help you to be a better consumer? How does this help you? How is this, what can we implore other people to do because of this? How can they spot fake news? How can this information help us to reduce the panic, to reduce these poor decisions that people are making? So that's what I want you to think about. Again, this is just an example of how somebody might go about organizing their essay based on that last bullet pointed prompt. But you have some good information here. It's more informational at this point in time. So we want to hone that into looking at it from that misinformation aspect. So I hope this helps you out. Take care, and send me a message so we can set up a time to meet. Bye, Cooper.